The universe is not slow, it is waiting for your command, and one word, spoken in faith, can bring your good rushing to you in 24 hours. Most people beg, plead, and wait, but I tell you, the command of truth has no delay. Do you know the word that opens heaven's storehouse? Today, you will. In this message, I will give you the exact command that awakens divine supply without delay. If you have prayed, begged, or waited in vain, you will learn why your words have been powerless and how to make them almighty. By the end, you will hold a weapon sharper than doubt, stronger than fear, and you will know how to use it. I know what it feels like to wait, to speak affirmations, to hope for money, for work, for healing, and see nothing change. You wonder, what am I doing wrong? The truth is, most people whisper when they should command. They ask when they should decree. And this is why the universe seems deaf to their prayers. But today, I will show you how to speak with the voice of authority, so that what you need cannot resist you. Here is what we will uncover together. First, I will show you why ordinary prayers fail, and how to break the habit of weak words. Then, I will give you the command that opens the gates of supply within 24 hours. Finally, I will show you real cases where people shifted poverty to plenty, fear to faith, overnight. You will see that the law works, not in theory, but in practice. Stay with me, for one sentence spoken in faith can end your struggle and bring you into your promised land. And by the close of this message, you will be ready to speak it yourself. Here's something most people never realize. Every time they beg, every time they plead, every time they ask as if the giver were far away and reluctant, they are declaring lack instead of plenty, distance instead of nearness, weakness instead of authority. Asking is not commanding. Asking is standing outside the door, hoping it will open. Command is standing in the house, knowing the door already belongs to you, and speaking with the authority of ownership. I tell you plainly, asking keeps the blessing in the future, but command brings it into the present. Asking says, "One day I will have." Command says, "I have now, by divine right." Do you see the difference? The world has trained you to beg, to plead, to grovel before circumstances, but the scriptures declare otherwise. It is written, "Concerning the works of my hands, command ye me." The infinite does not tell you to crawl, it tells you to decree. The infinite does not tell you to wait, it tells you to command. Think of a general who stands before his army. If he were to stand there begging, "Please, soldiers, I hope you will move, I hope you will fight, I hope you will obey," would they follow? Would they march? Of course not. They would be confused, hesitant, uncertain. But if the general stands tall and speaks with clarity, "Forward, march," the army moves in unison without question. That is the power of command. Your subconscious, your circumstances, the very elements of your life are like that army. They are waiting for a decisive voice. And the moment you speak it, the moment you decree with certainty, they line up and obey. Let me give you a story that shows this law in action. One Easter, I longed for a rose tree. I saw it in my mind for just a moment, vivid and real, carried into my home by invisible hands. Later, a friend sent me flowers for Easter. But when the package arrived, it was not lilies, as she had ordered. By mistake, the florist sent me a rose tree. Do you see it? My command had already gone forth, and the universe had no choice but to deliver. The florist made the error, but in truth, there are no errors when the word has gone out. The rose tree came because I had decreed it. I had called it, and it had to appear. This is the difference between asking and commanding. If I had asked timidly, "Oh, wouldn't it be nice if I might one day have a rose tree?" it would have remained only a faint dream. But the moment I decreed it in thought and word, the law moved. You may wonder, but isn't it arrogant to command God? Hear me, command is not arrogance, command is alignment. I do not tell the infinite what to do. I align myself with what the infinite has already provided, and I speak the word that opens the way. When I command, I am not bossing heaven, I am standing in agreement with heaven. I am saying, "Let it be so now, as it already is in divine mind." There is nothing proud about that. It is obedience, it is faith, it is humility in its highest form. Because I lay down my doubt and speak as though the promise were true. And it is true. Many have wasted years asking when they should have commanded. They pray weak prayers, filled with maybe and someday, and they wonder why nothing happens. Their prayers drift like smoke into the air and fade away. But the command is different. The command is like thunder rolling across the heavens. It shakes the air, it stirs the unseen, it summons the supply. When you speak a command with fearless faith, you are no longer outside looking in. You are inside, declaring your rightful portion. And I will tell you this, when you begin to command, things will happen quickly, and sometimes they will come in ways you never expected. You will say a word in faith, and the channel will open from a place you could not have imagined. The florist will make an error. A door you never knocked on will open. A letter will arrive out of nowhere. But it is not accident. It is not coincidence. It is law. You spoke, you commanded, and the universe rushed to obey. So let me ask you, which voice do you use? Do you ask, timid and uncertain, planting seeds of delay? Or do you command, bold and unwavering, planting seeds of immediacy? One will keep you wandering in the desert, always waiting for manna. The other will part your Red Sea and lead you into the promised land. Never again beg, never again plead, never again wait for someone to take pity on you. Stand in your divine authority and speak the word. Say with certainty, this good is mine now. It belongs to me by divine right. It cannot be withheld, it cannot be delayed, it must appear now. And then watch as the law proves itself, for the word never returns void. Now, I want you to hear me carefully, because what I'm about to say might sound almost impossible to the reasoning mind, but it is the most natural thing in the world to the spirit. People ask me all the time, Florence, why do you say that this command can bring results in 24 hours? Isn't that too fast? Don't things take time? And my answer is this. Time is only a belief. It is only a picture held in the carnal mind, but in the divine, there is no delay. Fear creates delay. Doubt creates delay. Hesitation creates delay. But fearless faith brings the good swiftly, sometimes within the very next day. When the command is spoken with certainty, when no shadow of doubt enters, the channels are cleared and the supply flows in immediately, because the supply already exists, waiting for your decree. The only thing that ever withholds it is your own fear, your own inverted faith, your own clinging to appearances and clocks. I want you to see this clearly. The universe does not need weeks to rearrange itself. The infinite does not check the calendar before moving. Spirit works outside of time. Spirit works in what I call the fourth dimension, the realm where everything already exists in perfect and finished form. Your command is simply the bridge that brings what is invisible into the visible. When you speak, you pull the finished picture down from that higher dimension into the one you walk in. That is why it can appear in 24 hours. Not because something new is being created from scratch, but because it is already prepared and waiting in the unseen. The law of acceleration is this. Fear slows down the vibration, but faith quickens it, and perfect faith removes all distance between the desire and the manifestation. Let me give you a story. A woman came to me one hot summer's day. She was worn down, discouraged, and nearly penniless. She told me she had only $8 left in the world, and she didn't know what to do. I looked at her and said, "Good. Let's bless the $8 and multiply them, just as Jesus multiplied the loaves and fishes." And then I asked her, "Do you have a hunch to go anywhere, to do anything?" At first, she resisted. She thought, why go home? There's nothing for me there. But then she admitted she did feel a hunch to return to her distant home, though it made no sense to the reasoning mind. I told her, never violate a hunch. Go home. Infinite Spirit has already prepared something for you. She obeyed. She spoke the words I gave her. Infinite Spirit, open the way for great abundance. I am an irresistible magnet for all that belongs to me by divine right. She repeated them continually, and what happened? By following that inner lead, she connected with an old family friend, and through that connection, thousands of dollars came to her in the most unexpected and miraculous way. She told me afterward, "Tell everyone about the woman who came to you with $8 and a hunch." And I do, because it proves the law. It proves that supply is never far off. It is always one command, one act of faith, one fearless decree away. Now let me ask you something. Do you believe that Spirit needs years to deliver a loaf of bread? Do you believe infinite intelligence must check your credit report before sending you a home? Do you think the Father must wait for the stars to align before giving you what is already yours by divine right? No. The only thing that takes time is the time you take to believe. The only delay is the delay you allow through fear, doubt, and double-minded words. But the moment you say it and mean it, the moment you speak with no wobble, no hesitation, no divided tongue, that is the moment the law moves, and it can bring your good to the door in less than a day. I have seen this law work too many times to doubt it. I have seen debts erased at the very hour they were due. I have seen jobs appear for those who dared to say, I have a perfect work in a perfect way. I give perfect service for perfect pay. I have seen love arrive at the exact right moment for the one who stopped chasing the wrong person and decreed, I am now linked with my right man by divine selection, and what belongs to me cannot be withheld. I have seen health restored in a single day for those who stopped describing their sickness and began decreeing their perfection. The law is no respecter of persons. It works for the one who dares to command, and it works swiftly. So do not let your mind tell you it takes time. Do not let appearances tell you it's impossible in 24 hours. Say to yourself, my good is prepared now. It rushes to me now. It cannot be delayed. It cannot be lost. It is mine, by divine right, now. And then expect it. Live as though it were on the way, because it island. The command spoken in faith is like a lightning bolt. It does not crawl across the sky, it flashes. It does not wait, it strikes. And so it is with your word. That is why I say the law of command works in 24 hours. Not because Spirit suddenly decides to favor you, but because Spirit has already favored you. The storehouse is already filled, the banquet is already prepared, the supply is already flowing. The only thing missing is your decree, and when you give it, the door swings wide. The good that seemed far away rushes in, and what you thought would take years can be standing in front of you by tomorrow. Here is something that almost no one guards against, and yet it is the very reason so many people live surrounded by disappointment and lack: idle words. Most people think their little jokes, their careless phrases, their sighs of complaint have no power, but I tell you, the subconscious has no sense of humor, no ability to sift and separate what you meant and what you did not mean. Every word is taken literally, every word is impressed, every word becomes a seed planted in the deep soil of the soul, and sooner or later it grows into form. This is why you must watch your tongue with vigilance, because you are always either blessing or cursing your life with every casual sentence. I knew a woman of great means who often laughed and said to her friends, "Well, I suppose I'd better get ready for the poorhouse." She thought she was being clever. She thought she was making light conversation. She thought she was keeping herself humble by joking about it. But she said it over and over, planting that image of poverty in her subconscious, and in a few years she found herself nearly destitute, stripped of the abundance she once enjoyed, tasting the very conditions she had continually affirmed. She had spoken herself right into the poorhouse. Do you see how deadly idle words are? They may seem harmless, but they are the most poisonous because they slip past your guard. When you deliberately declare, "I am rich," or "I am strong," you know you are planting a seed of faith. But when you say, half in jest, half in despair, "I'm broke, I'm sick and tired, nothing ever works out for me," you are planting weeds that grow just as quickly as the good seeds. And weeds choke the harvest. The tongue that jokes itself into ruin is the tongue that refuses to believe its own power. But the law does not change because you are careless. The law obeys every word, whether it is idle or intentional. So many people today talk themselves into illness, talk themselves into financial trouble, talk themselves into loneliness, and then wonder why life is so hard. I tell them, you made it hard with your own tongue. Death and life are in the power of the tongue. That is not my saying, that is the word of Scripture. And if death and life are both in the tongue, then you cannot afford to play with death words. You cannot afford to play with lack words. You cannot afford to joke about things you do not want. Let me put it this way. Imagine your subconscious as a great recording device. Every word you speak is recorded, faithfully and without error, and played back into your experience. Would you waste your time recording ugly songs, foolish chatter, words of failure and defeat? Would you want to hear them played back day after day? Of course not. And yet most people fill their subconscious with nothing but noise, nothing but complaint, nothing but fear, and then they are shocked when those records play back in the form of sickness, debt, and despair. I say to you, guard your tongue as you would guard a treasure chest filled with gold. Because in truth, it is worth more than gold. With your word, you can decree wealth, you can decree healing, you can decree harmony, you can decree love. But with the same word, You can also bind yourself to poverty, bind yourself to weakness, bind yourself to endless struggle. The choice is yours, and the choice is made every time you open your mouth. So let me ask you, what idle words are you speaking? Do you laugh about your troubles, thinking that makes you light-hearted, when all the while you are etching those troubles deeper into your life? Do you repeat phrases of fear, phrases of fatigue, phrases of limitation? Do you gossip, criticize, complain, never realizing that what you speak of another you are planting for yourself? Because make no mistake, every judgment you fling out is a seed that circles back to your own garden. I tell you plainly, if you want to change your life, begin by changing your language. Erase the phrases that have become habits of defeat. Erase the little jokes that carry poison. Erase the murmurs of complaint that slip so easily off your tongue. Replace them with strong words, clear words, words of command, words that create only what you desire. And if you cannot yet speak the truth boldly, then at least be silent. Better silence than curses, better silence than idle chatter, better silence than binding yourself by your own careless tongue. The law is exact. The law is just. The law is always at work. It does not stop because you were only joking. It does not pause because you did not mean it. It gives you back exactly what you send out, pressed down, shaken together, running over. So do not waste your life with idle words. Speak deliberately. Speak reverently. Speak joyfully. And watch how quickly the harvest changes when every seed is planted with intention. Here's the great mercy of the law. Even though every careless word has left its mark, even though every idle phrase has been recorded in the subconscious and played back into your life, there is a way to smash the old records and begin anew. Nothing is beyond redemption. No word is so deeply planted that it cannot be uprooted. No pattern is so strong that it cannot be broken. The spoken word that created the bondage can also create the freedom. I tell you, the tongue that cursed you can also bless you. The same mouth that spoke limitation can now speak liberation. Think of your subconscious as a phonograph plate. Every word, every thought, every emotion has been etched into it with exact precision. When you play that record, you hear not only the song but every cough, every mistake, every break in the rhythm. Your life today is simply the playing of that record, the replay of all the words you have impressed upon your inner self. But here is the beauty. You can smash the old record. You can declare with power, I now smash and demolish every untrue record in my subconscious mind. They shall return to the dust heap of their native nothingness, for they came from my own vain imaginings. I now make my perfect records through the Christ, within the records of health, wealth, love, and perfect self-expression. Speak it, declare it, and as surely as the old words once held you, the new word will set you free. I have seen this truth work in the lives of countless people. They came to me burdened with years of poverty, years of sickness, years of disappointment, and when I taught them to speak the words of demolition, when I gave them the decree to smash the old records and replace them with the new, their lives turned like a tide. Suddenly, the doors that had been shut flew open. Suddenly, the patterns that had bound them dissolved. Suddenly, fresh opportunities, fresh vitality, fresh joy rushed in. It was as though the old phonograph had been lifted off the turntable and a new song had begun to play. This is why you must not despair when you look at your life and see the results of wrong words. You may say, Florence, I have spent decades speaking lack. How can I ever undo it? And I tell you, one word spoken in faith can erase years of fear. One decree spoken in boldness can demolish a lifetime of wrong impressions. The Christ within is greater than the sum of your past words. The Christ within is the eraser, the smasher, the demolisher of all that is false, and when you invoke that power through your spoken word, the old collapses and the new rises in its place. Let me ask you, have you grown weary of hearing the same old song in your life? The song of debt, the song of sickness, the song of loneliness, the song of failure? Then smash the record, break it deliberately. Speak the decree that sends those sounds back into silence. Then pick up your wand, the spoken word, and record a new melody, a new rhythm, a new declaration of health, wealth, love, and joy, and listen as your life begins to sing that song back to you. This is not imagination. This is law. The subconscious is exact. It records without judgment, but it also obeys without hesitation. So fill it with new commands. Fill it with new decrees. Fill it with new affirmations. Say aloud, I am surrounded by divine abundance. I walk in health and strength. I am loved with an everlasting love. I express myself perfectly in the divine plan. Let these be your new records. And as you repeat them with conviction, as you press them deep into the subconscious, the old impressions fade and the new dominate. Soon you will find yourself living in the very picture you have declared. So do not linger over the past. Do not mourn over old words. Smash them, demolish them, sweep them away, and start again. Every day is a chance to record a new track. Every morning is an opportunity to speak a new decree. And if you will be faithful, if you will speak only words of truth, you will live to hear your life playing a symphony of abundance, health, and joy. Now that you understand the danger of idle words and the mercy of smashing old records, I must show you the discipline that keeps the tongue in check, for it is not enough to clear the field once. You must guard it daily, lest new weeds spring up again. The scriptures say, "Set a watch, O Lord, before my mouth, keep the door of my lips." There is a reason for that command. The tongue is the gate, and whatever passes through that gate is what the subconscious accepts as law. If you guard the gate, you guard the garden of your life. If you leave it unguarded, thieves will enter, thieves of doubt, thieves of fear, thieves of complaint, and they will rob you of your harvest. So you must learn to post a watchman at the gate, an inner sentinel who examines every word before it leaves your mouth. I tell people this. Imagine your tongue is the cashier's window at the bank of your life. Every word you hand through that window is a check drawn on your spiritual account. If you hand out checks marked poverty, your account will soon be empty. If you hand out checks marked fear, your health will fail. If you hand out checks marked criticism, your relationships will sour. But if you hand out checks of faith, joy, thanksgiving, and abundance, you will find the vault of your life overflowing with supply. Guard your checks, guard your words. Do not let one slip through that does not bear the signature of truth. You may say, "But Florence, I speak without thinking. I catch myself too late." And I say, train yourself. Train yourself as an athlete trains his body. Train your ear to hear your own words. Train your mind to catch the negative before it slips out. And if it does escape, cancel it immediately. Say, that is not the truth. I erase it. I replace it with the word of faith. If you murmur, I feel so tired. Stop and say, no, the joy of the Lord is my strength. I am filled with vitality. If you sigh, I'll never get ahead. Stop and declare, everything I need flows to me now. I am rich and abundant. In this way, you retrain the tongue, you retrain the subconscious, and you retrain your life. The Bible speaks of the watchman at the gate. He is not there to sleep. He is there to guard, to observe, to allow only what is worthy to enter. You must be that watchman for your own words. Stand guard over your lips. Let no complaint pass, let no fear pass, let no curse pass. Only blessing, only truth, only faith must be permitted through the gate. If you will be faithful in this, your life will become a fortress of good, safe from the intrusions of fear and lack. I once knew a man who lived in constant defeat. Every evening he returned home to his family and poured out his tales of trouble, every slight at the office, every fear about money, every worry about the future. He thought he was unburdening himself, but in truth he was reinforcing the chains that bound him. His family listened, absorbed his words, and echoed them back, and together they lived under a cloud of despair. I told him, silence is golden. Stop scattering your forces with idle talk. Guard your words. He obeyed. He stopped rehearsing his troubles. He stopped planting fear with his tongue, and in a short time his fortunes turned. New opportunities appeared. His health improved. His whole home atmosphere was transformed. Why? Because he had set a watch at the gate. So I ask you now, are you willing to guard your own gate? Are you willing to take responsibility for every word that passes your lips? Are you willing to cancel, to correct, to replace every phrase that carries fear or lack? If you are, you will discover a power greater than any treasure on earth, for you will have mastery over the very tool that shapes your destiny. Your word is your wand, but it must be wielded carefully. A wand waved carelessly may cause chaos, but a wand used with precision brings miracles. Therefore, let this be your practice. Each morning, set the watchman at the gate of your lips. Say aloud, this day I speak only words of truth, words of life, words of abundance. My tongue is the pen of a ready writer, and it writes only the story of my good. Then go forth, attentive and deliberate, and when the temptation comes to complain, resist it. When the urge comes to criticize, replace it with blessing. When fear tries to rise in your throat, choke it with a decree of faith. In this way, you will not only smash old records, you will prevent new ones from being made. You will live in a constant stream of blessing, guarded and secure, because you have mastered the gate of the tongue. Now that you have seen how idle words destroy, how old records can be demolished, and how the tongue must be guarded as the gate of destiny, I can finally place in your hand the very command, the very decree that forces the universe to deliver supply without delay. I call it the instant money code, not because it is a trick, not because it is some secret formula invented by man, but because it is the eternal law of spirit spoken in words so clear and simple that even a child could use it. The code is this: God is my unfailing supply. Large sums of money come to me quickly, under grace, in perfect ways. Speak it aloud, not once, not timidly, but daily, boldly, with the certainty that it is already true. These words are not wishful thinking. They are a decree. They are not begging, they are commanding. When you speak them with faith, you set in motion a vibration that moves through every channel, every circumstance, every unseen corridor of the universe, and money flows to you swiftly, easily, and without struggle. Why does this command work? Because it aligns you with truth. God is indeed your unfailing supply. It is not your job, it is not your bank, it is not your business partners, these are only channels. The source is spirit, and spirit never runs dry. When you declare that large sums of money come to you quickly, you are not creating greed. You are affirming abundance that already exists in infinite measure. When you say, under grace, in perfect ways, you are sealing your decree with protection, ensuring that what comes is right, timely, and free from harm. You are claiming your portion without taking from another, without forcing, without strain. You are calling forth what belongs to you by divine right, and the law must answer. Let me tell you the story of a woman who came to me with only $2 in her purse. That was all she had left in the world, and she felt small, frightened, and defeated. I looked at her and said, "We bless the $2. We know it is the magic purse of spirit. It can never be depleted. As money goes out, immediately money comes in, under grace, in perfect ways. I see your purse crammed, jammed, bulging with bills, checks, gold, and silver." She was filled with such faith that she gave me one of her $2 as an offering. She refused to see lack. She held the picture of plenty. Shortly afterward, she received a gift of $6,000. That is not chance. That is not coincidence. That is the law of the spoken word. That is the instant money code in action. You may be listening now and saying to yourself, "But Florence, I have debts so large, bills so many, needs so pressing, how can one little sentence change all that?" And I tell you, the mountain is moved not by the size of your effort, but by the authority of your word. Speak to the mountain, and it shall be removed. You cannot outshout your debts by worry, but you can outcommand them with faith. When you decree, "God is my unfailing supply," large sums of money come to me quickly, under grace, in perfect ways. You are lifting the situation out of the realm of struggle into the realm of spirit, where miracles are ordinary and sudden supply is the natural order. Think of it this way. If you were lost in a great dark hall and you struck a match, the light would not crawl slowly across the room, it would appear at once. Darkness vanishes instantly before light. In the same way, lack vanishes instantly before a decree of abundance spoken in fearless faith. It may take a moment for the form to appear in your mailbox, in your bank, in your hand, but the law moves the instant you speak. The 24 hours is not the time it takes God to act. It is the time it takes your world to catch up to the decree already issued. So I charge you, begin to use the instant money code today. Do not whisper it. Do not say it half-heartedly. Speak it aloud with the voice of command. Feel the authority of heaven in your tone. Say it in the morning when you rise. Say it in the night before you sleep. And any time fear whispers in your ear, drown it with this decree. Say it until the words are no longer words but power vibrating through your entire being. Say it until the air around you rings with the certainty of abundance. And watch, yes, watch how swiftly the channels open and how quickly the supply arrives. Remember, the universe is obedient. It does not argue, it does not hesitate, it does not delay. It waits only for your command. The moment you give it, the law moves, and what you once thought impossible begins to unfold before your very eyes. God is your unfailing supply. Large sums of money come to you quickly, under grace, in perfect ways. Speak it, believe it, expect it, and prepare to receive it, for the decree of truth cannot return void. Now that you hold the instant money code in your hand, I must tell you something that may surprise you, something that separates those who see swift demonstration from those who wait in frustration. It is the law of preparation. You see, many people speak the word, they repeat the affirmation, they declare the truth, but then they sit idle as though nothing is required of them, or worse. They contradict their decree by acting as if nothing could ever change. They speak abundance but live as though lack were permanent. They speak health but act as though sickness were inescapable. They speak love but prepare for loneliness. That is not faith, that is double-mindedness. And a double-minded man receives nothing, for he wavers between two pictures and the subconscious obeys both, producing confusion. But when you prepare, you prove your faith. You build the stage on which your demonstration will appear. You set the table for the banquet you have already ordered from the invisible. And the law of preparation demands that once you have spoken the word, you must act as though it is already true. I once taught a man who longed to go abroad, but he had no money for the journey. He began declaring, "I give thanks for my divinely designed trip, divinely financed, under grace, in a perfect way." But I told him, "You must also prepare. Act as if the trip is already yours." So he went out and bought a trunk, bright and bold with a red band around it. He had no tickets, no funds, no plans, but he had a trunk. Every time he looked at it, his faith was quickened. He could smell the docks, hear the seagulls, feel the gangplank under his feet. He had put himself in the vibration of travel, and soon, as though pulled by that vibration, the money came and the trip was made. Why? Because he not only spoke the word, he prepared for its fulfillment. This is the secret that most people miss. Preparation is the proof of faith. When Elisha told the people to prepare for rain, he said, "Make this valley full of ditches." Why? Because the rain would come, but without ditches, it would be wasted. They had to dig before a cloud was in the sky. That is faith. Faith digs ditches when the ground is dry. Faith buys trunks when the bank account is empty. Faith makes room for blessings before a single sign has appeared. And the moment you prepare, you magnetize the good, you open the channel, you clear the path. I have seen women who longed for a home of their own, but lived always in the cramped quarters of others. I told one of them, "Prepare for your home. Buy the blankets, buy the dishes, buy the little things that make it real." She hesitated, saying, "But Florence, I have nowhere to put them." And I said, "That is not your concern. Prepare, and Spirit will provide the place." She obeyed. She bought the linens and the small furnishings, and almost at once the way opened for her to find the apartment she had been dreaming of. Her preparation was the magnet that drew it forth. Let me ask you now, what are you preparing for? Are you preparing for lack by hoarding, by saving for a rainy day, by building defenses against loss? Then you will surely invite the rainy day, because preparation always precedes manifestation. Or are you preparing for abundance by opening space, by making room, by acting as though your supply were already overflowing? If you want the new, you must make space for it. Clear out the old clothes if you want new ones. Clear out the old books if you want fresh wisdom. Clear out the old habits if you want new joy. Show the universe by your actions that you are ready. Remember this truth: you cannot receive what you have not prepared for. If you speak the instant money code and then go on acting as though you are penniless, you are canceling your own decree. But if you speak it and then prepare, even in a small way, you are proving your faith, and the law cannot help but answer. Preparation is not wasted effort. It is the very soil in which your demonstration grows. So I challenge you, this very day, to take a step of preparation. If you are speaking for money, prepare a place for it. Open a bank account if you do not have one. Clear a drawer for the bills you know will arrive. If you are speaking for work, prepare your tools, your clothes, your schedule, as though the job were already yours. If you are speaking for love, prepare your home and your heart to receive it. Do not wait until the blessing is visible to prepare. Prepare now, and the blessing will rush to meet you. Now, let us go deeper into the mystery of why results often appear within 24 hours when the word is spoken with authority. Many people think it is luck, or coincidence, or some rare exception to the rule, but in truth it is the rule itself when faith is pure and unclouded by fear. The 24-hour demonstration principle rests upon one thing only: expectation. When you expect without wavering, when you give thanks in advance, when you act as though it were already so, the universe has no choice but to rush the supply into your visible world. Faith is magnetic, gratitude is the conductor, and fearless action is the proof. And when all three combine, the law moves at lightning speed. I remember the story of a woman who faced a lawsuit of $3,000. She was terrified, convinced she would lose everything. But I told her, stop describing the trouble. Stop speaking of defeat. Begin to declare, I give thanks that the situation is now adjusted in divine order. My supply cannot be lost, my good cannot be withheld. The expected and the unexpected now happen in perfect ways. She obeyed. She began to affirm it boldly, even when appearances screamed the opposite. She prepared herself by acting as though the matter were already settled. She kept her eyes on the promise, not the problem. And almost at once, the money came through a relative she had not heard from in years. The amount was exactly what she needed, and it arrived at the exact hour it was due. That was no accident. That was the 24-hour law in action. Do you see what happened? She erased fear with faith, replaced despair with declaration, and sealed her decree with thanksgiving. That opened the way for Spirit to move swiftly, for there was no resistance left. Her expectation magnetized the supply, her gratitude drew it into form, and her willingness to act in faith sealed the channel. This is how the law works. The only reason people wait for years is because they spend years waiting. But when you expect now, when you command now, when you prepare now, the result appears now. Think of it like a telegraph line. The message does not crawl slowly across the wire, it flashes instantly from one point to another. Your command is the message, your faith is the current, your gratitude is the receiver, and the result is delivered instantly. The 24 hours is only the time it takes for the visible channels to arrange themselves to deliver what has already been decreed. Spirit does not delay. Spirit does not deliberate. Spirit delivers the moment you decree. Now let me ask you, how many times have you spoken a word of faith in the morning only to cancel it by doubt in the evening? How many times have you affirmed abundance only to check your purse in fear and mutter lack? That is why you do not see the 24-hour demonstration, not because the law has failed, but because you have failed to hold steady. The moment you sow faith and reap fear, you create delay. But when you sow faith and reap only more faith, when you seal the decree and refuse to touch it with doubt, the result is swift and sure. I urge you, therefore, to practice the 24-hour principle. Speak your command in the morning. God is my unfailing supply. Large sums of money come to me quickly, under grace, in perfect ways. Then prepare as though it were already done. Give thanks as though it were already in your hand. Smile, rejoice, and act in the rhythm of possession, not want. Refuse every suggestion of fear. Deny every whisper of lack. And hold steady for 24 hours. Watch what happens. You will see doors swing open, you will see channels appear, you will see opportunities present themselves with astonishing speed. The 24 hours is not a test of God, it is a test of you. It is a test of your ability to hold the vision without wavering, to guard the tongue without slip, to act as though the promise were already fulfilled. And when you pass that test, the demonstration comes, swift as a river breaking through a dam. So I say to you now, practice it. Take one desire, one need, and speak the command. Hold it for 24 hours without doubt, without contradiction, without delay. You will see the proof of this law, and once you do, you will never again wonder if the universe hears you. You will know. Now I must tell you something that will enlarge your vision, for the command is not limited to money alone. It is not a narrow formula that works only for a purse filled with bills or a bank account swollen with figures. The law of command is the law of life itself, and it stretches across every area of your existence. The same word that summons wealth will summon health. The same decree that calls forth money will call forth love. The same authority that draws supply will draw right work, right friends, right opportunities, and right expression. For there is but one law, and that law is the power of the spoken word charged with faith. If you can command money, you can command every good thing, for all things come from the same source and obey the same law. I have given to many the affirmation. I have a perfect work in a perfect way. I give perfect service for perfect pay. And I have watched men and women step out of drudgery into joy, out of unemployment into opportunity, out of failure into success. They stopped asking, "Will anyone hire me?" and began decreeing, "My work is already prepared, my place is already waiting, my good is already mine." And as they spoke, so it was. The doors opened, the positions appeared, the channels of right compensation flowed, because they had moved from begging to commanding. I recall a woman who suffered from a painful skin disease. She had tried remedies, doctors, prayers of pleading, and nothing had changed. When she came to me, I told her, "Stop rehearsing the sickness. Stop giving power to the disease by speaking of it. Begin instead to declare, 'Divine love floods my consciousness with health. Every cell of my body responds to the healing word. I am whole, perfect, strong, and free.'" She obeyed. She spoke it faithfully, even when appearances screamed the opposite. And as she continued, the resentment and bitterness she had long carried toward another dissolved, and with it the disease dissolved also. She was healed, not by medicine, not by pleading, but by the word spoken in faith, the word charged with forgiveness and love. That is the law working beyond money. Do you see? The command is not limited to silver and gold. It is the master key to the storehouse of life. If you are lonely, decree companionship. If you are fearful, decree courage. If you are sick, decree health. If you are weary, decree strength. Speak it as though it were already true, because in the invisible it already island, your word does not create the good, it reveals the good that has been prepared for you from the beginning. The law cannot fail, because it is written into the fabric of the universe itself. Now, I know the reasoning mind will rise up and object. It will say, "But Florence, I have spoken for love and received disappointment. I have spoken for health and still felt pain." And I tell you, those are not failures of the law, they are failures of alignment. Perhaps you spoke in fear rather than faith. Perhaps you decreed with your lips but denied with your heart. Perhaps you spoke once and then contradicted yourself 100 times with idle chatter. Or perhaps you demanded what was not yours by divine right, and the law, in its mercy, withheld it until something better could appear. Do not be discouraged by appearances. Hold fast to the truth, and what is truly yours cannot be withheld. I have seen men decree for a particular person, begging that love be returned, only to find nothing but silence. But when they shifted their decree, when they said, "I am now linked with my right mate by divine selection. What belongs to me cannot be kept from me." Suddenly the right companion appeared, not the one they thought they needed, but the one Spirit had prepared. And in every case, the result was greater joy, greater harmony, greater love than they could have chosen for themselves. That is why I say, do not dictate the channel, only command the good. So open your eyes and widen your vision. Use the command not only for money, but for everything, for the law of abundance is not limited. It is the law of health, the law of love, the law of harmony, the law of joy. Speak it boldly in every area of your life. Let no condition stand untouched by the word of truth. Say, "In this situation, divine order now prevails, divine supply now appears, divine love now heals, divine wisdom now directs, divine joy now fills." And watch as the stubborn walls crumble, the hidden doors swing open, and the life you once thought impossible begins to unfold before you. Now we must face the one enemy that stands behind every delay, every disappointment, every shattered dream, and every lost opportunity. For it is not men, nor governments, nor circumstances, nor so-called fate that robs you of your good. The only enemy you will ever have to conquer is fear. Fear is not simply nervousness or worry. It is not a passing feeling you can excuse or ignore. Fear is faith turned upside down, faith twisted into a belief in evil instead of good. Fear is inverted faith, and when you allow it to grip your mind, you are as surely commanding disaster as you would be commanding supply when you speak in faith. Do you see the seriousness of this? Fear is not harmless. Fear is not innocent. Fear is creative, and it creates the very thing you dread. The scriptures declare, "The thing I greatly feared has come upon me." That was not poetic exaggeration, that was law. What you continually fear, you continually magnetize, and what you magnetize must find a channel into your experience. Think of how fear operates. A man speaks words of abundance in the morning, but by noon he is watching the clock, trembling that his supply will not come. His heart beats with worry, his hands sweat with doubt, his his lips mutter, "What if it fails?" And he has cancelled his command. The subconscious does not distinguish between the confident decree of faith and the trembling decree of fear. It accepts both and reproduces both, which is why so many live in a cycle of sudden gains and sudden losses, bursts of joy followed by waves of despair. They are double-minded, planting faith with one hand and fear with the other, and so they reap confusion. You cannot hold the sword of faith in one hand and the dagger of fear in the other and expect to win the battle. One must be dropped, one must be cast aside forever. I recall the words of Jesus to his disciples when the storm raged and the boat threatened to sink. He did not pat their hands and say, "I understand your fear." He rebuked them, saying, "Why are ye fearful, O ye of little faith?" He knew that fear was the only danger, not the storm, not the waves, not the wind. Fear was the enemy, and the moment he spoke the word of authority, "Peace, be still," the storm obeyed. The external trouble was only the reflection of the internal storm. When the fear within was silenced by the command of faith, the storm without ceased. The same law works today. When you conquer fear within, the outer circumstances must yield, for they are but the mirror of your inner state. So I say to you now, look squarely at your fears. Do not hide from them, do not excuse them, do not coddle them. Name them, expose them, and then declare their nothingness. Say aloud, "Fear, you are inverted faith, you have no power, you cannot operate, you are a shadow, and I walk in light." When you confront fear with the spoken word, it dissolves. It cannot stand before the decree of truth. Fear thrives in silence, in the dark corners of your mind where you nurse it secretly. Drag it into the light of declaration, and it evaporates. And let me remind you, every delay you have ever experienced can be traced back to fear. Fear of lack has kept money from flowing. Fear of rejection has kept love from entering. Fear of failure has kept work from appearing. Fear of criticism has kept expression from blossoming. Fear is the root, and until the root is cut, the weeds will grow again. But once you cut it, once you say with all your heart, "I will fear no evil, for God is with me," the weeds wither, the soil clears, and the garden of your life flourishes. Therefore, treat fear as the enemy at island. Do not pet it, do not humor it, do not call it natural, call it what it is, false evidence appearing real, inverted faith creating false pictures. And then replace it instantly with the decree of faith. Say, "I walk in perfect faith. I am surrounded by divine love. I am upheld by infinite power. I cannot fail." Say it until the vibration of it fills your being, until the shadows flee, until the light of truth shines so brightly that no fear can approach. And when you live in that state, your word will carry irresistible power, for it will be undiluted, unclouded, pure. Now that you see fear for what it is, the great enemy, the inverted faith that attracts disaster as surely as true faith attracts abundance, you must be armed with the tools that erase it, for it is not enough to recognize fear. You must conquer it. Fear is sly, fear is persistent. Fear creeps back in the midnight hour when you are alone. Fear whispers when you are waiting for your demonstration. Fear shouts when appearances are against you. So you must be equipped with weapons stronger than fear itself, and those weapons are always words of truth, spoken with authority, rhythm, and certainty. The first tool is denial, the bold, spoken rejection of fear's reality. Do not reason with fear, do not argue with it, do not plead with it, deny it. Say aloud, "Fear, thou art nothing. You cannot operate, you have no power, for God is the only power." When you say this with conviction, you are cutting the root. You are refusing to let fear write its record on your subconscious. You are erasing the image before it can take form. I have seen this tool save many. A man once came to me overwhelmed with worry. He said, "I can't stop my mind from racing." I told him, "Every time fear speaks, you answer it aloud. Deny it, cancel it, replace it." He obeyed. Each time the thought returned, he declared, "Fear, you are nothing." And within days, he was calm, centered, and ready to speak words of faith again. The second tool is affirmation, the rhythmic declaration of the opposite of fear. Fear says, "You will fail," so you affirm, "I walk in faith, I cannot fail." Fear says, "You will be rejected," so you affirm, "Divine love prepares the way." "I am irresistible to my own," fear says, "You will be sick," so you affirm, "Every cell of my body is alive with health and strength." The affirmation must not be whispered like a question. It must be spoken like a verdict. It must carry the vibration of finality, as though the case were already decided, because in truth it island. The third tool is love, for perfect love casts out fear. Fear cannot stand where love abides. If you are afraid of a person, bless them. If you are afraid of a situation, surround it with love in your thought. If you are afraid of loss, declare divine love as the substance of your supply. One of my students once carried worry all his life, and nothing I told him seemed to free him. Then one day he walked past a signboard that read, "Why worry? It will probably never happen." Something in him shifted, he laughed, and the fear dissolved. That laugh was love replacing fear, the recognition that all his anxieties were illusions. He went on to live with a peace he had never known. The fourth tool is thanksgiving. Gratitude is the language of faith, and it is impossible to be fearful and grateful at the same time. The moment fear whispers, answer it with thanks. Say, "I give thanks that the good I seek is already mine. I give thanks that the supply is already flowing. I give thanks that divine order rules this situation." Gratitude lifts you out of fear's vibration and into faith's vibration instantly. It tunes you to the frequency of abundance. It opens the channels for spirit to work swiftly. Now, do not imagine that fear will vanish once and for all at the first denial or affirmation. Like a weed, it may try to sprout again. But if you are consistent, if you deny it each time, if you affirm truth each time, if you replace it with love and thanksgiving each time, the root will wither, the ground will clear, and the harvest of faith will flourish. You will become immune to fear, untouched by its suggestions, unshaken by its appearances. You will stand poised, calm, and powerful, and your word will carry an authority that nothing can resist. So I ask you now, are you willing to wield these tools? Are you willing to speak aloud, to deny, to affirm, to love, to give thanks every time fear approaches? Because if you are, then fear will lose its grip, and your demonstrations will come quickly, for nothing will stand in the way of your command. Remember this: fear is inverted faith, but faith is the original. Fear is counterfeit, faith is real, and the real always destroys the counterfeit when you choose it. There comes a moment in every life where the storm outside rages so loudly that it dares you to forget the truth you have spoken. A moment when appearances loom so great they seem like giants in the land, mocking your faith, threatening your peace, and laughing at your declarations. This is the true battleground, not the bill in the mailbox, not the doctor's report, not the empty chair beside you. Those are only shadows, only mirages projected on the screen of life. The real test is whether you will bow before the appearance or rise above it and hold to the invisible reality. For appearances are not truth. They are temporary pictures, fleeting projections, the giants the Israelites saw when they stood at the border of their promised land. They cried out, "We are as grasshoppers in their sight." And because they believed the picture, because they accepted the lie, they wandered in the wilderness for 40 years. Do you see the lesson? It was not the giants that kept them out. It was their own acceptance of the appearance. They shrank in their own sight, and so they were defeated before a single battle was fought. How often do people today repeat the same mistake? They look at the bank account and say, "There is no way." They look at the diagnosis and say, "There is no hope." They look at their age, their past, their circumstances, and say, "It is too late." And so they chain themselves to the appearance, not knowing that the appearance is powerless unless they grant it power. I tell you, the only giants in your life are the ones you feed with your fear. The moment you see through them, the moment you declare, "I refuse to judge by appearances, I judge righteous judgment," the giants collapse and the land flows with milk and honey. Let me give you a picture. Imagine a stage where a play is being acted out. The scenery may show a prison, the actors may cry out in sorrow, the script may declare tragedy, but you know it is only a play. You know behind the walls there is nothing, behind the prison there is no lock, behind the sorrow there is no cause. It is all appearance, held in place by belief. In the same way, the troubles you face are scenery, and if you will not identify with them, if you will not bow to them, they dissolve, and the truth stands revealed. I once knew a woman whose finances had collapsed. Every letter that arrived seemed to bring another demand, another threat, another weight pressing upon her. She wanted to cry, to give up, to surrender to the flood of appearances. But I told her, "Stand still and see the salvation of the Lord." Refuse to look at the bills, refuse to speak of them, refuse to grant them reality. Instead, declare, "The divine plan is now manifest. My supply is immediate, inexhaustible, and perfect. I do not see lack, I see abundance. I do not see debt, I see payment complete." She obeyed, though it seemed foolish to the reasoning mind. She turned her eyes from the appearances and fixed them on the word of truth. And in a short time, the channels opened, money flowed in, and what had looked like certain ruin became a story of deliverance. This is the law. What you see with the inner eye of faith is what becomes real, and what you stare at with the outer eye of fear is what hardens into form. So choose your vision. Lift up your eyes to the hills, from whence comes your help. Speak not of giants, speak of God. Speak not of sickness, speak of health. Speak not of lack, speak of plenty. Speak not of loneliness, speak of love. Every time you speak, you are choosing which picture to strengthen, the false or the true. And whichever you choose will grow until it fills your life. So let this be your decree. I live above appearances. I walk by faith and not by sight. I do not accept the evidence of lack, for I know abundance is here. I do not accept the appearance of sickness, for I know health is here. I do not accept the shadow of fear, for I know love is here. Say it until it becomes your habit, until no storm can shake you, until no giant can frighten you, until no appearance can deceive you. And when you reach that place, where your word is steady and your vision is fixed, the outer world must bow, the storm must still, the giants must fall, the prison walls must crumble, and your promised land must open before you. Now that you have seen how fear must be cast out and how appearances must be conquered, let me show you how to live in the stream of supply so that your good flows without ceasing. For it is not enough to command once, to see one demonstration, to watch one door swing open. You must learn to dwell in the rhythm of abundance, to move with it as naturally as a fish swims in the sea or a bird glides upon the wind. And here is the truth. Abundance is a river. It is not a pond, not a dam, not a vault locked tight with iron bars. It is a living current, flowing from infinite source through countless channels, never running dry, never ceasing, never failing. If you will place yourself in harmony with that current, it will carry you from blessing to blessing, from demonstration to demonstration, without strain, without pause, without fear. But if you hoard, if you clutch, if you dam up the river, you will find the waters grow stagnant, the channels clog, and the stream that once flowed so freely seems to vanish. Many people cut themselves off from their own supply by hoarding. They say, "I must save every penny in case of loss, in case of sickness, in case of trouble." They think they are being wise, but they are planting seeds of fear, and fear always produces after its kind. What you prepare for is what you attract. When you hoard against loss, you prepare for loss, and loss comes. When you clutch money to your chest in terror, you are declaring that God is not your supply, that lack is your master, and the law responds accordingly. But when you circulate, when you give, when you let the river flow, you declare faith in infinite supply, and the law responds with increase. I recall a woman who had very little, yet she was moved one day to give a gift. She resisted at first, saying, "I cannot afford to part with this," but she felt the nudge of intuition and obeyed. She gave, not grudgingly, but joyfully, declaring as she did, "As I give, so it returns to me multiplied, under grace, in perfect ways." And within days, she received more than she had given, from a channel she never expected. That is the law. Giving opens the channel. Hoarding closes it. The river must flow. Now I do not say be reckless. I do not say squander. I do not say throw your money to the wind. I say listen to intuition, that still small voice that tells you when to give, where to give, how to give. Sometimes the gift is money, sometimes it is time, sometimes it is kindness, sometimes it is forgiveness. Whatever form it takes, if it is given in faith and love, it returns multiplied. The law of circulation is as exact as the law of gravity. What you send out returns, what you release expands, what you hold in fear shrinks. Think of your lungs. You cannot breathe in unless you first breathe out. Try holding your breath, clutching the air as though it might escape you, and you will suffocate. But breathe freely, exhale fully, and the fresh air rushes in. That is how supply works. Exhale in giving, inhale in receiving, flow in rhythm, and the supply never ceases. Try to hold, and you choke the very life out of your prosperity. So I say to you now, trust the river. Do not dam it with fear. Do not hoard against loss. Do not clutch against imagined lack. Flow, circulate, give as you are led, and as you do, declare, I am in the rhythm of abundance. I give freely, I receive freely. My supply flows without end, under grace, in perfect ways. Speak it, believe it, live it, and you will find yourself carried by the current of divine supply. Never stranded, never empty, always full, always provided for. Now let me speak of something that tests the patience of nearly every soul that begins to work with this law, something that has caused many to throw down the wand of the spoken word and declare, it does not work for me. I am speaking of what you call delay. You command, you affirm, you decree, and yet the answer does not appear at once. Days pass, weeks pass, perhaps even months, and you begin to think that heaven is deaf, that the law has failed, that your word has returned void. But I tell you plainly, there is no delay in spirit. What you call delay is often divine timing, a rearrangement in the unseen, a reordering of channels so that what comes is better than what you thought to demand. Delay is not denial. Delay is often the proof that infinite intelligence is at work, shaping and preparing the way so that when the demonstration comes, it comes in a form more perfect than you could have imagined. I have seen this over and over. A woman once prayed fervently for a man she believed was her chosen mate. She spoke for him, she decreed for him, she begged for him, but nothing happened. He slipped further and further from her life. She thought the law had failed her. She grew bitter and resentful. But when she released her demand, when she finally declared, if this man is not mine by divine right, I give thanks for the right one who now appears, everything changed. In a short time, she met the man who was truly hers by divine selection, and the happiness, harmony, and love she found with him were greater than anything she could have forced with the first. What seemed like delay had been mercy. Spirit was withholding the lesser until she was willing to receive the greater. This is the meaning of divine timing. Spirit never withholds from you. It only withholds what is not yours. It never delays your good. It only delays your disappointment. It never closes a door without opening another that leads to a higher place. But because people cling so fiercely to their pictures, they call this mercy denial. They call this rearrangement delay, when in truth, it is the outworking of love. If you will only trust, if you will only hold steady, if you will only say this or something better, under grace, in perfect ways, you will find that every seeming delay conceals a greater blessing. Remember the story of Pharaoh, who hardened his heart against the Israelites, refusing to let them go. It seemed like delay after delay, plague after plague, setback after setback. But when the time was right, when the arrangement was complete, the sea parted and the people walked into freedom. Could they have gone sooner? Not safely. Not completely. The delay was not denial, it was preparation for a perfect release. And so it is in your life. What you think is a closed door may be Spirit's hand, arranging the opening of 10 greater doors. So I say to you, do not curse delay, bless it. Do not cry against divine timing, trust it. Do not grow weary in well-doing, for in due season you shall reap if you faint not. Say to yourself, every apparent delay is a divine rearrangement. Something better, something richer, something more perfect is being prepared for me now. I refuse to be discouraged. I stand still and see the salvation of the Lord. And when you take this attitude, peace fills your heart, fear loses its grip, and you become a magnet for the greater good that is even now rushing to you. Let me ask you, what are you calling delay in your life right now? Is it possible that it is not delay at all, but the movement of Spirit to bring you something beyond your imagining? Can you trust that what belongs to you cannot be withheld, and what is not yours cannot satisfy? If you can, then every moment of waiting becomes a moment of preparation. Every closed door becomes a promise. Every silence becomes a song waiting to be sung. Now that you know how to let the river of supply flow, and how to trust the delays as divine rearrangements, I must bring you to the place where this law becomes not a momentary experiment, but a way of life. For it is one thing to speak a decree once and see a sudden demonstration, but it is another to dwell in the vibration of command day by day, to walk in it as naturally as you breathe, until your whole being is saturated with the rhythm of faith. This is what I call walking daily in the code. It is the steady practice of aligning your words, your thoughts, your feelings, and your actions with the truth you have declared, so that every hour of every day becomes a step in the path of abundance, health, and joy. Do not think of the instant money code as something you use only when you are desperate, only when the rent is due, only when the debt collector is at the door. No, it is not a last resort. It is a way of being. Just as you breathe without ceasing, just as your heart beats without interruption, so should your word of command be spoken daily, rhythmically, naturally, until it is no longer a practice but a posture. You rise in the morning and say, "God is my unfailing supply." Large sums of money come to me quickly, under grace, in perfect ways. You carry it in your mind as you walk through the day. Each time a bill appears, you do not sigh, you declare, "This is already paid, for my supply is inexhaustible." Each time fear whispers, you drown it with faith. Each time temptation to complain rises, you silence it with thanksgiving. And at night, before you close your eyes, you seal the day with gratitude. I give thanks for the wealth, health, and happiness that surround me. Tomorrow, more good rushes in. In this way, you build a rhythm, and rhythm is power. Let me remind you of the story of the magic purse. A woman once said to me, "Florence, I am down to $2. I don't know how I can go on." And I told her, "Bless those $2. See them as the magic purse of spirit that can never be emptied. Each time money goes out, more rushes in. Visualize your purse crammed, jammed, bulging with bills, checks, gold, and silver." She obeyed. She spoke the code daily. She refused to see lack. She chose only the picture of abundance. And in a short time, a gift of $6,000 came into her hands. Do you see? The purse was never the source. The purse was the symbol. The daily decree kept her tuned to the source, and the source poured through. That is what it means to walk in the code. You must understand, repetition is not vain, it is creative. The subconscious learns by rhythm, by habit, by steady impress. Just as a river carves stone not by a single rush of water but by continual flow, so your decrees carve abundance into your life by continual repetition. The word spoken once in faith can bring a miracle, but the word spoken daily in rhythm brings a life of miracles, a constant stream of demonstrations, a permanent atmosphere of good. So, I charge you, make this your way of living. Do not drift in and out of faith. Do not speak boldly today and fall into fear tomorrow. Hold the rhythm, build the habit. Guard your tongue, smash old records, speak the code, prepare for abundance, trust the timing, and walk daily in thanksgiving. Do this, and you will not only see sudden demonstrations, you will live in a steady flow, a river of supply that never runs dry. Your life will become a testimony. Your very presence will radiate faith, and others will be drawn to ask, "What is your secret?" And you will say, "There is no secret, only the law of the spoken word, faithfully lived, daily decreed, joyfully obeyed." Now we have walked together through the law from the first command to the daily practice, and I must not leave you without sealing this truth in your heart. For what good would it be if you only heard these words, nodded in agreement, and then returned to the old language of fear, the old habit of asking, the old cycle of waiting? No, the spoken word is not theory, it is life. It is power. It is the wand placed in your hand to shape your destiny. And so I remind you one last time, begging delays, command delivers. Asking keeps your good in the distant future. Commanding calls it into the present. Fear slows it, faith hastens it. Idle words choke the harvest. Disciplined words bring the fruit in season. Hoarding clogs the stream. Circulation keeps it flowing. Delay is not denial. It is divine rearrangement for your good. And the code you have been given is not to be spoken once and forgotten, but to be lived, breathed, declared, until your very being is saturated with its vibration. So take this affirmation with me now, and let it thunder in your soul. I am one with the giver and the gift. God is my unfailing supply. Large sums of money come to me quickly, under grace, in perfect ways. I give freely, I receive freely. I walk by faith and not by sight. My word is law, and my good appears without delay. Say it again until it rings through you like music, until you feel the vibration in your very bones, until you know that it is done. This is not poetry, this is not ritual, this is law. The decree you have spoken has already gone forth, and it will not return void. Now, here is my challenge to you. Do not let this remain a pleasant idea. Within the next 24 hours, put the command to work. Take one need, one desire, one mountain in your life, and speak the decree. Write it down, speak it aloud, act as though it were already so, and then watch. Watch with expectation. Watch with joy. Watch as the channels open and the supply rushes in. And when it comes, and it will come, give thanks, and let your faith grow stronger for the next command. For this law is not limited. It will meet every demand of your life, if you will only dare to speak it. And now I must leave you with one final thought, and it is this. Perhaps you are wondering, what if I speak the word and nothing happens? What if silence is all I hear? What if I wait, and the 24 hours pass, and my good does not appear? Ah, my friend, there is a hidden law, one that explains why some commands seem delayed, why some decrees appear cancelled, and why sometimes spirit withholds until the perfect door opens. This is the law of the secret door to success, and without it, you may stumble. With it, you cannot fail. If you have ever wondered why your command seems unanswered, you must hear what I will share there. So click now, and join me in the next message, where I will show you why delay is never denial, how to break through resistance, and how to open the secret door that leads straight to your promised land. For you have spoken the command today, but there is more to learn, more to master, more to receive. And remember always, your word is your wand. Use it, and miracles must follow.